Hi, everyone. I have a question for you, and that is what happens when you no longer own the things that you depend on? Not because they were taken from you outright, but because access to them was quietly moved behind systems that you don't control, like your money, your health records, your food supply, communication, utilities, identity, your knowledge. Everything is becoming digital. And in a digital world, the person who controls access controls the system. That is the part that I think a lot of people are missing right now. The future is not only about ownership, it is about access. And if you do not control access, then you do not truly control the thing itself. Welcome back to Prepping Communities. Today, I want to talk about one of the most important preparedness concepts of our time. That is access equals control. Because more and more we are being moved into systems where we are told that we own something, but in reality, we only have permission to access it. And that permission can be changed, it can be restricted, delayed, it can be removed, and that applies to your money, food, water, to energy, to your healthcare, housing, to your legal rights, and it absolutely applies to information. And at the center of this entire shift is one key access point. That's digital identity. Because once your identity becomes the gateway to every major system, whoever controls that identity system has enormous control over your life. Think about how much of your life now depends on access. Like, you don't walk into a bank and physically hold your money. You access a balance on a screen. You don't own most of the platforms that you use. You access accounts. And you don't own the servers that store your information. You're accessing cloud systems. You don't control the apps, the payment systems, the rules, the terms of service, or the infrastructure behind them, but you are allowed in until you're not. And that is the difference between real ownership and conditional access. Because a thing can still exist, but if you can't access it when you need it, it has no practical value. That's true for money, for food systems, for medical information, and it's true for knowledge. Now, this is where the digital ID becomes so important, because a digital ID can be presented as convenient. One login, one identity, one verified profile, one way to access services. But the risk is that it becomes the master key to everything else: banking, travel, medical systems, government services, online access, food programs, licensing, employment, housing, energy accounts, even participation in public life. And once everything is tied to one access point, control becomes centralized. You no longer have separate systems. You have one gate. And whoever controls the gate controls what you can access. That is why we as preppers, we need to think deeper than just supplies. Preparedness is not only about what you have, it is about what you can still access when systems change, fail, or restrict you. Like, look around, financial systems are moving digital. Cash is being discouraged in a lot more places now. Bank accounts can be frozen. Look what happened in Canada. Limited, delayed, or monitored. Food systems are centralized through large distributors, digital payments, inventory systems, and access rules. Health systems are increasingly tied to digital records, portals, permissions, and identity verification. Then energy systems, they depend on smart meters, managed grids, billing platforms, and remote control. Then we got housing and ownership that are now tied to digital records, permits, taxes, insurance, and compliance systems. Even information itself is controlled through search engines, platforms, algorithms, subscriptions, logins, censorship, outages, cloud dependency. And again, the issue is not that digital systems are always bad, but the issue is dependency. If your entire life depends on systems that you do not control, then your freedom depends on continued permission from those systems. That is not resilience, that is managed access. So what do? The answer, don't panic. The answer, reduce dependency. You start by asking one simple question. What do I depend on that someone else controls access to? Then you build alternatives, not perfect alternatives, not fantasy alternatives, but real practical backups. You want parallel systems, you want local systems, you want physical systems, and you want offline systems. You want things that still work when the main system does not. So first, keep some non-digital options alive. That means cash on hand where legal and practical, paper copies of important documents, printed maps, written contact lists, physical manuals, local relationships, community networks that do not depend entirely on apps. Second, hold some physical assets outside of digital systems. Food like you physically possess, water storage and filtration, tools, seeds, medical supplies, printed knowledge, backup power, useful barter items, things that don't require a login, account approval, or internet connection to use. Third, build local relationships. This is huge. A real community is harder to control than isolated individuals. Know your neighbors, join local groups, build trusted circles, and learn who has skills, like who can garden, who can fix things, who has medical knowledge. That's huge. Who has radios or knows how to use them, who preserves food, who can help during a disruption. Because when access to systems fail, people become the network. Fourth, product knowledge. This may be the most overlooked one. Most people think that they have knowledge because they can search for it, but that is not the same as owning it. If the internet is down, if platforms restrict content, if search results change or your account is locked, if your power is limited, then all that knowledge disappears at the exact moment you need it. That is why offline knowledge matters, and this is one of the main reasons that we have created Prepper Offline. Prepper Offline is not just a download. It's a different way of thinking about knowledge. Instead of depending on cloud systems, platforms, search engines, internet access, you can keep a full preparedness library on your own device. That's like food, water, medical, security, shelter, power, communications, gardening, homesteading, real preparedness planning. This Prepper Offline, it is structured, it's organized, and it's really neat because it's searchable. It acts just like a website, but it's offline and it's designed to be used without the internet. That matters because knowledge is only valuable if you can access it when you need it. If you can't access it, then you don't really have it. And Prepper Offline is about moving critical preparedness knowledge out of systems that you do not control and into a format you can store, copy, back up, and use yourself. That is knowledge resilience. The future is going to reward people who understand access, not just ownership, access. Like, can you access your money? Can you access food, your water, heat, your documents, communication, your information? Can you access your own life without needing permission from a centralized system? That is the real question, because every system that controls access can eventually be used to control behavior, and the more dependent you are, the fewer choices that you have. Preparedness is about restoring your choices. It is about reducing dependency, and it is about keeping your options open. It's about building systems that still function when other systems fail. So if you want to take the next step, you can also learn more about Prepper Offline. Just head on over to preppingcommunities.com. Membership is free. You can access all of the features there, as well as you can access Prepper Offline, learn how it works, how to download it, and the different pricing options available, because the goal is simple. Do not just consume information, secure it. Do not just depend on systems. Build backups, and never forget that access equals control. And the more access that you control yourself, the harder it becomes for anyone else to control you. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today, guys. I will see you in the next video.